Is it possible to get these to fire out of that?
It's already been said that these shells will not be cross-compatible.
Whilst they will be ejected in an unmodified state, they cannot be used to fire any darts.
No difference at all between the heights of these two shells. The difference all comes from the width of the shells. Inside the barrel of the blaster, there is enough space for one of these Sledgefire shells to slide all the way through. Also notice, it's possible to compress all 3 air restrictor pins, which is good. Now I'm actually doing a live stream right now, and it's just been suggested that you might be able to just wrap some duct tape around these to make them compatible. It's duct tape time! If you just throw a shell into there, you can see that it's actually quite a loose fit. I've wrapped a shell in duct tape. It's actually sitting a lot more like these shells are. Priming it fully and firing it doesn't do anything because the shells tend to be pushed slightly up and through the end, which means that they are not fully compressing little air restrictor pins. What we're going to need for this to be backwards compatible with these shells is some kind of a casing to hold these shells in place. I've just realised that these casings here are hollow.
By the way, you'll notice I am not in the Shonky shed right now. I'm in the old Nerf pit. Hi Tang. And I felt like this would be a good place to do something a little bit experimental. Now the first thing I want to do is have a look inside these shells. If you look inside these, you'll notice that they're actually hollow. It looks like there's a hollow crevice there. So the first thing we need to do is a little bit of dissection. The anatomy of a trilogy shell. Doopy doopy doop. The singing helps, guys. The singing helps. Right, I had a hunch that once those plastic bits on the sides were cut off, these might be able to pull apart, but it doesn't look like that's... Ah, look, there's a screw in there. Why didn't I see that before? You cheeky screws. Oh no, don't round out. Please don't round out. Is my screwdriver too small? There we go, that's a better size. Right, so I'm fairly certain I did have to break the solvent welding there. I am just, yeah, that's coming apart nicely now. I'm just going to try this on one of the other ones to see if I did actually have to break the salt. Seems I didn't have to saw anything in the first place, but hey, that's one of those things. So let's see what we've got in here. This is quite a long screw for what it's doing. This is super duper interesting. You know what? I think if I cut this just right, this would actually fit. Look at this, this is hollow all the way through. This is brilliant, this is perfect. Get one dart to fire out of this. This would be a big achievement. So let me show you what I've got. I've hacked up this shell to the point now where the shell can kind of support a Sledgefire shell and almost has all the holes open. There's still work to do, there's still stuff to be chopped away, but it's not too far off, I feel, where it would need to be able to do the job. And to be honest, the front of the shell is sitting higher than the back of the shell, which sort of says to me that, well, obviously I haven't been cutting evenly, I can see that, but you know, there are possibilities. I'm just going to load this in and see how it goes. That dart tried to come out a little bit, it looks like. That is a really, really good fit. This case here is doing a really, really good job of supporting this shell. Oh, that dart tried to come out a little bit, it looks like. But I can see from here that the dart isn't actually sitting entirely straight, so... Okay, the dart definitely came out a little bit. If you take a little look here, you can probably see the top of the bit that I've left blocks the exit point of the dart, so I'm just going to file that down a little bit and give it another shot. One of those darts almost came out. Actually, this dart as well. This dart too is partially out, so we're getting closer. This one almost came all the way out. The other two darts were like this. We are getting so close, it's tangible. Which one's coming out? Oh, so I think I know what's going on. By the looks of things here, It's the bottom dart that is consistently being shot out, and it's the top darts that are not being shot out. And I think I know why the top darts are not being shot out. And I think the top darts would be shot out if this piece here, yeah, that's getting in the way. I'm going to file that down a little bit more. Two darts that time! And the third dart was really close to coming out too. One of these darts is loose, no wonder it wasn't coming out. Consistently getting two darts. Now, to be fair, I've been using the worker shells, and it's a well-known thing that with the worker shells, sometimes darts don't come out. I'm gonna switch and use a different shell. One dart again. Okay, I just realised something about this. When I actually go ahead and prime this, you can see that the Sledgefire shell gets pushed down at the back. And I've realised why that is. It's because there's a fin back here which is designed to push this forwards and hold it flush against the barrel. So in order to counteract that, I need something hard and not squishy underneath this to stop it from being pushed down. Okay, so I'm starting to realise that I should have left more of this shell on the front, and if I'd have done that, then it would have been absolutely spot on. All we need to do is prevent the Sledgefire shell from being pushed upwards, and then the problem's solved. Okay, I genuinely feel like the only way to do this is to sacrifice another one of these. So, this shell sled does enable the shell to sit very, very comfortably in the blaster, as one of the original shells would. My goal was to make something that would be something of a drop-in mod, something that would enable you to simply plug and play, if you will. And so after several attempts, here is my conclusion. In conclusion, I believe this experiment has been partially successful. This sled holds the Sledgefire shell in place with enough precision to enable at least some of the air from the stock plunger to propel the darts out of the shell chambers. However, if you take a look here, you'll notice that these chambers here are much wider apart than these. They are further away from the centre of the shell than these are. And that's important because the places where the air flows through are also wider apart, I believe, than in the Sledgefire. That means that you're going to have to be pretty much spot on in terms of lining this up with that plunger tube in order to get all the darts out at the same time. That may well be possible if you're able to engineer a sled with more precision than me. Not difficult. However, that could be that that's impossible to do without altering the blaster in some way, shape or form in order to compensate for the smaller diameter of these shells. In addition to that, it's this fin up here which pushes the shell down at the back and upwards when you finish priming the blaster. And that's another factor which makes it difficult to line up exactly. So when you pull that handle forwards, this comes forwards as well and brings that fin with it, and that pushes down on the back. Now the reason for that is to hold this in place flush against that plunger tube right there, allowing all the air restrictor pins to be compressed at the same time, simultaneously. And this doesn't get pushed up at the front and down at the back because there's nowhere else for it to go. It's such a good fit. This is less of a good fit, and I've done a bit of jiggery pokery to try and adjust that. Remember, this shell is actually in 2 bits, so I've had to add something onto the end there to make it the full length of this shell. It may also be possible to put a unit like this on the back of this sled in order to help direct the airflow into these holes. However, that would also add length onto the end of the shell, and I'm not entirely certain if there is enough space for that to happen once this is fully primed. Because when you prime the blaster, this moves forward and rests snugly against the shell. It could well be that there's a bit of give there, in which case it might work, but that's for me to find out in another video. Whilst we didn't manage to fire 3 darts at a time consistently out of our Sledgefire shells, we did manage 2, and 2 is better than none. Another way that this design might be improved would be by including a little bit more material across the top here. That might also prevent the Sledgefire shell from being pushed upwards at the back. So in conclusion, I believe that this is possible, and I hope this video provides a bit of a stepping stone for anybody else who wants to have a go. And if you're interested in this sort of thing, I hope it helps. That was perfect. That was a perfect shot on the camera. This sled hub
This sled holds the Sledgefire. This sled holds the Sledgefire shell.